Hey fellow explorers, welcome to Xsploor Halloween, where we check out a very cool and very spooky story just for you. In fact, there are 31 stories, one for every day of the month, just for you. What is today's and tonight's story? Well, to find out, I brought along my very good friend Hallie, and she always has the best spooky stories to read. Hallie, what story did you bring today? You know what? Every time I ask her, I never hear a word because she's so darn shy. But she did bring a book. Let's find out what book she brought. Oh, it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Oh, this is a great book. It's also a great TV special, but it's even better as a book. Let's read it. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Check it out. Very exciting. Look at, there's Linus and Charlie Brown. And Linus is writing a story. What's he writing? A letter. It says, "Dear Great Pumpkin, I am looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night." There was a general feeling around the neighborhood that Linus always acted a bit peculiar during the month of October. Each year he got out a piece of his nicest stationery and wrote a letter to someone he called the Great Pumpkin. The Great Pumpkin. Have you ever seen the Great Pumpkin? I haven't. I know who the Easter Bunny is, the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, leprechauns even. But the Great Pumpkin? Who the heck is that? Well, Linus knows though, right? Let's find out. It really annoyed Lucy, his sister, because she thought it made her look bad. Snoopy thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Look at Snoopy laughing his head off. And Lucy's like, "Get away from me, dog." The only person who thought Linus just might be right about the Great Pumpkin was Sally. Look, oh, Sally, see the hearts? She's in love with Linus. She listened very carefully as Linus explained the whole story to her. Each year on Halloween night, the Great Pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch that he thinks is the most sincere and flies through the air with his pack of toys for all the good little children in the world. Wow! That sounds like a pretty good deal. It sounds like kind of like a Santa Claus for Halloween, huh? The Great Pumpkin with a sack of toys. Oh, I hope he's real. That's pretty awesome, huh? The other kids in the block were much more interested in making costumes to wear when they went out that night for tricks or treats. Charlie Brown had intended to look like a ghost, but he had a little trouble with the scissors and ended up looking more like a peeled potato. Oh, look at all the holes. Look at Charlie Brown. Cut too many holes in there. Supposed to just cut 2 for your eye, and he had a whole bunch. Lucy was proud of her witch's mask because she always said that a person should wear a costume that was in direct contrast to her actual personality. Lucy thinks she's not a witch. Well, sometimes she can act like a witch, huh? So maybe she's not that far away from it. The most original costume, if you want to call it that, was worn by Snoopy. For he had found a flyer's helmet and goggles and a beautiful scarf. He looked exactly like a World War I flying ace. Oh my goodness. Now Linus had convinced Sally that going out for tricks or treats not only was a waste of time, but was downright wrong. For he maintained that the only way to celebrate Halloween was to sit in a pumpkin patch and wait for the arrival of the Great Pumpkin. He told Sally that a person had to be very sincere in his waiting and never say, "if the Great Pumpkin arrives," but always, "when the Great Pumpkin arrives." One little slip like that, declared Linus, can cause the Great Pumpkin to pass you by. Oh, don't let that happen, huh? No. They looked around the field where they were crouched, and Linus declared, "The Great Pumpkin just has to pick this patch because it is very sincere. In fact, there's nothing but sincerity as far as the eye can see." What exactly is a sincere pumpkin patch? I mean, being sincere means you're like very honest. You're sincere. But a pumpkin patch, they're just pumpkins. They are what they are. Of course they're sincere. The pumpkin's a pumpkin. You can't be more honest than that. Oh, well, they're going to sit there all night wasting their trick-or-treat. They could be trick-or-treating and wasting all the trick-or-treat time. Lucy, Charlie Brown, and their friends had just finished knocking on the door of a house asking for tricks or treats. Lucy had asked for an extra apple for my stupid brother who can't come along because he's sitting in the pumpkin patch waiting for the Great Pumpkin. Each looked into the bag he was carrying with him. And after the others had said they had found things like cookies, candy, gum, and apples, Charlie Brown said, "All I got was a rock." Look at that. Poor Charlie Brown. No one likes him. He gets rocks. Everybody else gets candy and he gets rocks. Poor Charlie Brown. No one noticed Snoopy was missing. He had gone off by himself and had climbed up on top of his doghouse, which he pretended was a World War I flying plane. Ooh, a World War I flying plane. Here's the World War I flying ace taking off in his Sopwith Camel. A Sopwith Camel, by the way, is the name of the plane in World War I, so they called them Sopwith Camels. They were those bi-wing planes. They have like 2 wings on them. So like a regular plane has like, 2 wings sticking out, but World War I, they had like double wings. They were actually, each side had 2 wings on each side, so a total of 4 wings. That's called a biplane, and that's what they call Sopwith Camels. He used to fly those in World War I. In his imagination, he zoomed through the sky while anti-aircraft shells burst all around him. Just then, he spotted the enemy plane he was looking for. It was the Red Baron. Oh, the Red Baron was the enemy. He was a very, very famous German pilot that shot down a lot of American and Allied pilots. Before Snoopy could turn his plane to attack, the Red Baron swooped down upon him and riddled his plane with bullets. No, Snoopy, your plane got shot! Smoke poured from behind, and Snoopy fought desperately to control his plane. With amazing skill, he guided his badly damaged Sopwith Camel to a crash landing and leaped out before the enemy could find him. Good for Snoopy, huh? Look at all the bullet holes in his Sopwith Camel. Now he had to make his way back across no man's land to the aerodrome. The aerodrome is like the airport. That's where the planes were, and that's where the Allied planes were, and that's where he came from. But now he's behind enemy lines. Can he get there? Look at it. That's dangerous territory. Oh, no, look at the barbed wire. He has to cross barbed wire and go through trenches. Oh, no. He's walking all by himself at moonlight. Chalon-sur-Marne. That's French for the town of Chalon-sur-Marne. It's 70 kilometers that way. Snoopy's creeping along. He's wading through rivers with his nose sticking out. Otherwise, he couldn't breathe, right? So he walks with his nose hanging out. How funny. And he's creeping along the ground, staying very low, his belly on the ground, because if he stands up, the enemy will see him and they'll shoot him. They want to get shot in enemy territory, huh? In the meantime, Linus and Sally were still scanning the skies for the appearance of the Great Pumpkin. I hope you haven't been trying to fool me, warned Sally, and if you try to hold my hand, I'll slug you. Linus looking like, oh, wow, why did I bring her along? Huh? Listen, cried Linus. I hear something. There's a low rustle in the grass around the pumpkin patch. Oh! Is the Great Pumpkin real? Is he actually coming? Suddenly, a strange silhouette appeared before their eyes. It's the Great Pumpkin, cried Linus. He is rising out of the pumpkin patch. Oh! He toppled over backward in a faint. Look it. That's not the Great Pumpkin. That's Snoopy. Oh. I've been robbed, shrieked Sally. I waited all night in the pumpkin patch, and all I saw was a stupid beagle. She grabbed Linus by the front of his shirt and shook him until his eyes rattled. I believed in you. I missed tricks or treats to sit in this pumpkin patch. You owe me restitution. Do you know what restitution means? It means you have to pay something back to somebody because you owe them something. So they missed something, and so to compensate, you offer restitution. It's like to make them feel better. Like, I gave you this because you missed this, I gave you that. It's called restitution. Look at poor Linus, he got all shook up. Sally stalked off in anger, and Linus was left alone. Oh, poor Linus. He's sitting there all by himself in the pumpkin patch waiting for the Great Pumpkin. There's no Great Pumpkin, is there? I don't think there is. Poor Linus. About 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 in the morning? Lucy woke up and decided to see if Linus had come in yet. His bed was empty. Oh, her brother's still out there waiting for the Great Pumpkin. Oh, Linus. Such a sad, sad case, huh? She put her coat on and went out to the pumpkin patch. There was Linus, curled up on the ground with his blanket. He was so cold, he was shaking all over. Look at his teeth are chattering. Oh, Linus, you poor old soul, you, huh? Well, his sister's going to take him home, take care of him, huh? There she is, taking off his shoes and tucking him into bed. Lucy led him back home and helped him get into bed, huh? Yeah. Poor Linus. Good thing, Lucy's not that bad, huh? She's a pretty good sister after all. The next morning, Charlie Brown and Linus were leaning on a wall, staring into space. Each was thinking about last night. I went out for tricks or treats and all I got was a bag of rocks, moaned Charlie Brown. Did you ever get to see the great pumpkin? Nope, said Linus. He never showed up. Well, don't be too disappointed. I've done some stupid things in my life, too. Stupid! Shrieked Linus. What do you mean, stupid? Just wait until next year. I'll find a pumpkin patch, and I'll sit in that pumpkin patch, and it'll be a sincere pumpkin patch, and the great pumpkin will come. Just you wait and see. I'll sit in that pumpkin patch, and I'll see the great pumpkin. Just wait until next year. Charlie Brown sighed. Linus never learns, does he? He never learns. Well, that book was written by the great Charles M. Schulz, who writes the comic strip Peanuts. And those are all the characters of Linus and Lucy and Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Woodstock and Peppermint Patty and all those characters in Peanuts. Oh, it's a great comic strip. Read it, I love it. Now there's this book, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Well, I hope you liked it, and I have 31 days, 31 stories, all for you this Halloween. Check them all out. Go look for them. They're all on YouTube. All right, I'll see you later. Bye, bye, bye.